biggest mess ups I see people make is they'll decide on a name.
Yeah.
They'll fall in love with it. They're like, oh my God, this is genius. It's perfect. And they go and maybe they search on Instagram, right? And they find that the handle's available. Well, I must be in the clear, you know? I must be just fine. And that's not the reality. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today.
Right.
You know, so a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I've put off the legal stuff for so long. It's too late for me, but it's really never too late.
What about mommy life? Of course, you know, my girls are teens, but
Yeah.
you know, you have
I have a 5-year-old.
son.
My son is 5. When he was born, he was about 6 months when the pandemic started, which feels so weird to talk about. I'm like, what is this world that we're living in? You know, back in my day. No,
Welcome back, Bold Move Besties, to another episode of She Built Success. I'm Claudia. Let's get into it. So today I am joined with Yasmine. She is an intellectual property lawyer, the founder of Coaches and Company, and podcast host to The Business of Doing Business. Yasmine, welcome.
Thanks, Claudia. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So y'all, I got to tell you how Yasmine and I first met. Of course, social media is a thing, right? So I saw Yasmine first on social media, and I said, yep, I need to get my brand all the way together. And at that time, it was a completely different brand because now
we were living in a different world, first of all.
Touche. You are absolutely correct. Yeah, this was pre-pandemic, y'all. Way pre-pandemic. Well, a few years
maybe
pre-pandemic.
2017, 2018.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes. And so Yasmine definitely came in, and it was a pleasure, obviously, to work with you. I want you to talk about, and we could trademarks, IP, what that looks like in business, but also mom life, right? Because, we know business and momming is a thing for real.
We're doing it.
Yeah. So what made you get into intellectual property, and what have you found the, I'll say, hang-ups when you work with small business clients or clients in general? Because I know it's not just small business.
Yeah. So how did I get into intellectual property?
Yeah.
Well, first let me say it's also been a pleasure to work with you over the years.
Thank you.
Yes. Like you've been a client of my firm. I've been a client of your firm, you are one of the most brilliant and talented people I know. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
To join you.
Oh, thank you.
For all your business over the years.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So how did I get into intellectual property? Yeah. So I was working at a firm when I was in law school. And I was taking some IP classes, some business law related classes. And I remember when I was working at this firm, I was also a consumer on social media. I mean, I wasn't building a brand online. This was like 2014. So 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago now, I know. And I want to say I was one of the first people on Instagram. I was definitely an early adopter, in like 2011 or so.
Yeah.
And so I remember being on there as a consumer and seeing all of these people creating intellectual property. They were creating content, they were building brands. Some people had set up e-commerce stores and were selling products on a website. And I remember bringing that to my supervising attorney's attention and saying like, yo, you should see what people are doing on the internet. It's really cool what they're doing. And they thought it was interesting, but we had a full caseload. We served a lot of traditional clients who, we had construction company clients, salon and spa, restaurant, accounting firms, etc. So they weren't really interested in what was going on
social,
on the internet. It was kind of off their radar. So, I focused on my work while I was there, but I knew that there was so much potential. I could see the direction things were going. It was really cool the way people were creating, written works, audio works, visual works. People were launching podcasts and online shows and, live streaming and publishing content on the internet that adds value to people's lives, to businesses. And so, after I was licensed, I left the firm and launched my own firm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's been really fun. I mean, that was in 2016. And so it's been a journey and a lot has changed in the past 8 years. But, the common theme throughout has been, it's just so much fun to work with entrepreneurs. Everybody has a unique story. Everybody is selling something, different than the next. And there are just so many opportunities digitally today. I'm really excited about that and the direction things are going. And so I think you asked about the hangups, like what are the challenges?
Like whether it's social presence, brand, like that you just in your work over the years,
Yeah.
what do you find clients get hung up on,
Yeah.
or maybe it's too late, I don't know, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and I just said this yesterday in a live training with entrepreneurs.
Oh.
I did one here in Dallas in downtown. And I said, the saying or the phrase that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today.
Right.
So a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I've put off the legal stuff for so long. I didn't register my trademark. I didn't form my entity. My contracts are duct taped together with like random templates I found on the internet. It's too late for me, but it's really never too late. Until of course you face a legal issue, which it comes with the territory.
Right.
It's the nature of doing business. It's a part of engaging in commerce, selling a product,
Yes.
selling a service, working with clients, entering into these professional relationships.
Yeah.
A part of that is, and a significant aspect of it is the legal stuff. So
Right.
I feel like the first obstacle or the hump that people have to overcome is you can do this.
do it, yeah.
You're capable of approaching this and tackling this.
Yes.
And it doesn't require, and it shouldn't have to require hiring a big city law firm. Yeah. Having thousands of dollars on retainer. And, that was a big part of my mission with my law firm, was to create accessibility in legal services and legal protection.
Yeah.
My marketing strategies have always been rooted in education. So I've
Yes,
always come from a
yes.
place of, let me educate my audience, let me educate my prospective clients and provide them with the information that they need to make a decision that makes the most sense for them in their circumstances, because every business is different too.
Right,
So there's no such thing as a cookie cutter legal, solution overall for your entire business.
Right.
It really requires the business owner to have a foundational understanding of, these concepts in terms of what a business entity does for you and how you can protect yourself personally,
Right.
what written contracts you need to have with all your relationships, whether it's with a business partner or an investor or a client or a customer, team members, contractors, etc.
part, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then protecting your brand and protecting the content that you're working so hard to create.
Right.
That's the name of the game today.
Right, exactly. Intellectual property. It's interesting because what I've seen, because I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where somebody will online or brand, they'll have a moniker like a signature program or something, and they'll put the TM in it.
Yeah.
And before I started work with you, I didn't know I was like, okay. I mean, I knew trademark,
Yeah.
but like I didn't know the difference.
You're
between
not
the T.
alone.
And
You're
okay,
not
so
alone.
go ahead. The question is like, what are you finding? Is it okay to do that? Is it not okay to do
Yeah.
that? Or should you be seeking legal advice before that? Like,
Yeah.
where in the process would you come into play?
So specifically, you're talking about the symbols,
The
like
symbol-
the TM. Okay, so I'm happy to break it down, yes, because I do see it misused often. Some people will have the name of their brand and then they'll have a circled C, and that's an incorrect use. So what we look at, I think I'll back up a little bit
Sure.
and let me
Please,
share
please.
what these types of intellectual property entail. So two types of intellectual property that you'll really want to get familiar with as an entrepreneur. And that includes trademarks and copyrights. So I like to visualize a box, a package, and this box has something inside. I know it has something inside. I don't know what it is, but on the outside, all I can see are these source identifiers: the name of the brand, the name of the company, maybe a slogan or a tagline, a logo, color scheme, right? These are trademarks. These are what identify the source of the product or service that you're selling.
Okay.
And as a business owner, you are investing over time in your brand awareness and the recognition of your brand. And you want to make sure it's distinct in the market. Not everybody's using the same name as you.
Right.
Not everybody's using the same logo as you. If somebody's searching for your company name online, there aren't 30 other people using that same name. You want it to be distinct, right?
Right.
So those are those labels on the outside of the package. On the inside, you open it up and you see the contents of the box, and that's literally the content that you're creating.
Okay.
Those are your copyright assets, the original works. So that includes written works, audio works, visual works, photography, videography, podcast recordings like this one.
Yes.
Written works, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a blog post. These are your intellectual property assets that you want to get familiar with. So trademarks are your source identifiers. Think like if your business sold a physical product, what would the tag say? Okay. That's going to have your company name, your logo, your slogan, your tagline, your colors, your content that you're publishing. That's also intellectual property, and you want to protect that too. So that's the copyright. We're talking about your trademarks and how to protect those and what are the symbols. So we have the small TM, we have the circled R. Those are for your trademarks.
Yes.
You use the circled R only if it's registered, if you have a registration. I know you got those trademark
Yes.
registrations. So use the circle R. And for those that are not registered yet, if the application is pending, you can use the small TM. And even if you don't have an application pending, you can use a small TM.
Okay.
So if you decide I'm going to launch this new brand, I haven't applied for my trademark yet, but we're going to use the name, use a small TM. However, before you start using a name, and this is one of the biggest mess ups I see people make, is they'll decide on a name.
Yeah.
They'll fall in love with it. They're like, oh my God, this is genius. It's perfect. And they go and maybe they search on Instagram, right? Yeah. And they find that the handle's available. Great.
Yeah.
Then they'll go do a domain search, see if the website, tripbrandname.com.
Yes.
It's available.
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm going to buy it. Well, I must be in the clear, I must be just fine. And that's not the reality. You want to do a trademark clearance search, and you want to do a very thorough search online and with the USPTO database. So uspto.gov, go to the trademark search and do a search for the trademark you're considering and a few variations if there are alternative spellings, because you want to see if somebody's already using it or has a registration for this trademark in connection with a related product or service. So if there's already a trademark registered or somebody's using the name, but it's in connection with something totally unrelated to yours, it might not be a big deal.
Okay.
Not guaranteed, but it might not, it's less likely. It's not a red flag. If you're selling, bottled water and they're selling plungers or something, totally unrelated.
Right.
Kind of like how we have Delta Airlines and Delta Faucets. It's the exact same trademark.
Good one. Yeah.
Totally different products and services. There's no likelihood of confusion, which is that legal standard. So do a trademark clearance search.
Can they do it themselves?
You can do it yourself after, and I encourage you to do it yourself before you hire an attorney, before you hire someone to build your brand or build your website, before you make a public announcement, before you begin to really invest in that brand name. I encourage you to do it yourself. Yeah. And then it is a good idea to hire an attorney to do a more thorough one. Especially if you find something that might be questionable, get a second opinion or get a professional opinion, and have them do a legal analysis and let you know what their thoughts are in terms of, will you be stepping on anybody's toes? Are you at risk of committing trademark infringement by using this name? Will you be able to claim exclusive rights to it? Do you have a chance of registering this as a trademark? Because if you don't, and maybe it's diluted in that, hundreds of people are already using it, or maybe it's too generic that the USPTO will never grant ownership of this because other people need to use these words to describe their products or services. So if you have a name that you're using and you're wondering, is this generic or descriptive, a quick, informal test you can do is ask yourself, do my competitors need to use this word or phrase to just describe their products?
Okay.
And if they do, then it might be on the generic and descriptive side. But if they don't, then, it might be more distinct. And that is where protectability really comes in. So, so I veered off a little bit talking about the clearance search, but that's definitely one that I feel like before you apply for registration of a trademark, before you begin building the brand, do a clearance search just to make sure you're not going to be infringing on anybody else.
Right.
Because what ends up happening is people will, like I said, grab the handle, grab the domain, think it all looks good, start building this beautiful brand. They order the business cards, they have the website, everything's looking great. Yeah. They make the public announcement, and then they get hit with that cease and desist. And somebody's telling them, sometimes it's a large company, but you're not trying to come up against those large companies if you can avoid it. Yeah. And that company comes and says, you need to stop using our trademark, and then you have to go through a forced rebranding, and that costs money and time. Can get to be really stressful. So yeah, I would say that's one of those things that I wish I've been shouting it from the rooftops for years. So it's not new. Yeah. But that's one of those things that I wish all entrepreneurs knew. And, just to circle back to your initial question is, you can begin using that small TM, even if you're like, okay, I'm not fully committed to this name. I did a clearance search. It all looks good. I want to start using it. Maybe you're still trying to, test it out or develop a viable offer. You're testing the market, whatever that might look like. Everybody's situation is different. Right. You can start using that small TM, and that lets others know and puts them on notice that this is not a generic term that anybody in my industry can start using. I'm claiming exclusive rights to the use of this commercially. And you can expect for this to transform into a circled R sometime soon.
And you get Yasmine.
Yes, exactly.
No, I know when we went through the process for a few of our registered now trademarks.
Congrats again.
Thank you. Listen, y'all, you did your thing. I just provided some of the input that had to go into it, but I found that process, obviously I'm hearing it now again, but hearing it now is just a reminder, because even since then things have
Yeah.
evolved, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let me go back and check and make sure
Yeah.
that, you know, some of the things that we have and projects we have
100%.
going on are still, you know, ticking and tying those boxes for
Yeah.
future. So I think it's imperative to understand not only the difference of how to use it, but what are some of the implications if you're improperly using it. So
For
thank
sure.
you, for
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
enlightening.
Absolutely.
What about mommy life? Because I know I know I'm like, I tell the
Yeah.
listeners I go from like A to Z back into D. So this is, we're just gonna roll with it. But no,
I'm here
mommy
for
life and
it.
business, because
Yeah.
of course, you know, my girls are teens, but you
Yes.
know, you have
I have a
your
5-year-old.
son.
My
Yes,
son is
yes,
5.
yes,
Yes, he
yes.
just turned 5 this summer. He just finished pre-K.
Oh,
So we had our first year of school, which was like a new era for me
yeah.
because before that, when he was born, he was about 6 months when the pandemic started,
Wow.
which feels so weird to talk
Listen,
about. I'm
I
like,
was like,
what
I'm
is this
thinking,
world that we're living in? Back in
yeah.
my day. No, I'm just kidding.
You
Y'all don't
know.
know what we were going through, literally. But I was like 6 months
Yeah,
postpartum. My
yeah.
son is 6 months old. And so, daycare, I don't even know that we wanted to put him in daycare.
Yeah.
We didn't really even have a chance to like consider that as an
Yeah.
option,
Yeah.
honestly. We kept him at home the first 6 months. And then that happened. And I was like, okay, well, I'm still working. My husband is still working. He's at home. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
We were able to, I'm really grateful that we were able to receive some in-home
Oh,
support, like
that's
for
good.
childcare, so that I could have
Amazing.
some, because when you're working with clients, it really is challenging to
Yeah.
have a young child, an infant, a
Yeah.
toddler at home.
Yeah.
So I needed to have like some dedicated time to where I know I can take calls. I know I
Right.
can have focus work.
Focus. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, he just started school. So he was home. He didn't do daycare prior to that. So that was interesting, challenging, interesting, rewarding, all the things.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he started pre-K last year. So that was a new era for me. It felt like, okay, my schedule is opening up. What projects do I want to focus my time on? Where do I want, what am I interested in? What am I drawn to? There's so many different things happening in the market and in
Right.
technology. And so it's been, and I mean, it's only been a year since then. So I've definitely started, I started, some new projects in that time. I entered my content creation era.
Yes.
So following your lead. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's because I did have more capacity for that,
That's good.
and like I said, my marketing strategy has always been rooted in education.
Yeah.
So content creation from an educational standpoint feels really good.
Yeah. And it's
And
helpful.
yeah,
I can attest. I can
exactly.
definitely attest to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think that it's one of, like I said, it's one of the most effective ways to support entrepreneurs, in my opinion, is
Right.
provide them with the information that's relevant and give them the opportunity to, decide,
Yes.
what do I need at this stage of my business? What do I need in order to protect the different things that I'm working on or the different things that I'm building? And so, yeah, I'm kind of coming back to that in a new way.
Yeah, no, but that's good. I mean, even to the point of, I know contracts with
Yeah.
coachesandcompany.com. Yes, you guys go
Yes.
check it out.
Yes.
Just how, to your education point, like even when you're explaining, it's not a bunch of, it's almost like, I think it's Charlie Brown, when he'd be like, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't,
The
like,
legal mumbo jumbo.
right. No, you make it very clear. It's understandable. It
Thank
resonates.
you.
I can, not feel like I'm reading through a brick
textbook.
wall of text. Like,
Thank you.
and
I try really hard
you
because
do.
listen, I get it. I know it's not the sexiest part of business. It's not the most exciting. Like I think marketing and sales definitely takes the cake of
Right.
that one. So, but we're still important,
yes, yes,
So
yes.
I've definitely, I mean, it's been years of working on how can I communicate this information in a way that's digestible, in a way
Yes.
that makes sense given the context, that's relevant, that, you shouldn't have to go to law school to be able to understand this stuff. You shouldn't have to, pay thousands of dollars to an attorney for them to explain it to you.
Right.
So yeah, a big part of my mission has been creating that accessibility. And
Yes.
there's been this information gap between the business world and the legal world historically. I mean, we already know
Yep.
like that even for women and people of color, we
Yep.
haven't been able to access business and marketing channels and
Right.
legal protections and resources. And
Right.
so it's a different world, girl.
Listen, post pandemic, everything's just flipped
Yep.
upside down.
Yes,
So,
it sure is.
what has been your, I guess, to you, biggest
Yeah.
accomplishment to date?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what kind of question is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't want to frame it so it's like you have to
You're
pick this kind of
fair.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, I
Just,
hear you.
like, what do you feel? And it's
Yeah.
obviously this is today. It's not like
Yeah,
nobody's
yeah.
like,
No,
just
I hear you.
go to
I
it.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
My biggest accomplishment, I mean, when you ask that, immediately what comes to mind is like my biggest accomplishment is the life and career I've designed for myself. Because it allows for me to, I have, of course, family responsibilities, you know, I have my son, I have my husband, our household, I have, you know, parents and loved ones. And so I really care about them. I love them. I want to prioritize them. And I recognize I have a duty to them as well.
Yes.
And so I also have a duty to myself and to take care of myself. Yes. And so that was a big change for me after becoming a mom was I realized that, okay, things have to change.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think back to before I was a mom, like, what was I
Was
doing
it
all my
Listen,
time?
we all do.
What was I doing all that time? I really don't know. I really don't know. But I'm really proud of the way that and it was not easy. I'm not
Yeah.
saying like it
Yeah.
out the gate. I was like, this is how I'm going to do everything. And
Right.
it's just been smooth sailing.
Right.
It's been a lot of figuring it out. It's been a lot of trial and error. It's also been, I'm really proud of myself for accepting support from others because
That's
I
important.
had not such, I didn't have a great, you know, approach to asking for help, accepting help. I actually remember when I had a turning point realization when I was pregnant. I think I was like 8 months pregnant, and I physically could not. I physically could not do the things I needed to do. So I had to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it was just this clarity of like alignment and the parallel of, okay, this needs to happen in my business too. I can't keep, and I did have, you know, I had a small team.
Yes.
I definitely outsourced a lot at that point, but it became really clear then, okay, I cannot continue the way I have been doing things.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really proud of, you know, the way I've designed my career to support my life and my life to support my career and also create space for myself to take care of myself and to prioritize my personal relationships.
Yes.
And I love my work.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for
it's
that.
it's just glowing, literally.
I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I have in my work and the opportunity to show up for people and contribute in a way that, you know, it's pretty unique, the way I support
Yes.
my clients and my community and audience. And so, I'm
No,
proud of that.
you definitely found your niche. I mean, you kind of touched on it in the beginning when you were saying you went from corporate and then, you know, they were kind of like, social media. But then you were like, no, there is something here. And you
Yes.
just went all the way in. But you went all the way in. You're filling that gap, bridging that gap even, and making it, like you said, more accessible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that was a huge part of it too, is not even just the type of client that they were serving, the model of which, I mean, the legal model altogether is pretty outdated. It's the way it's always been done, the billable hour, the monthly retainer, you know, provide us with a $5,000 retainer. We charge $350 an hour. Every hour of work we do, we bill towards it.
Yeah.
And for a new entrepreneur, that's not realistic.
Right.
And my clients I knew wanted predictability. So right out the gate, we offered flat fees for our services. We, you know, somewhat productized our services where it was, you know, sort of a la carte, I guess you could say. And it was really easy to, okay, we would do an audit of this department. Let's figure out what it is that is needed here. And then depending on their budget, depending on their capacity, depending on their needs, of course, we were able to determine and then arrive at a flat fee. And that way we offer them that predictability.
And they know. Yeah.
And they know instead of, okay, it's $350 an hour. Okay, well, how many hours is it going to take?
Right.
There's a difference between 5 and 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
didn't mean to rhyme, but
no.
hey,
Listen, we're gonna call that what they they'd be like, you're such this is a mom jokes and things like that. Like it's okay, we're gonna claim it.
I'm fully embodied in my mom era right now. Okay, no shame in the
Nothing
game.
wrong with it. What about new projects? Anything coming up on the horizon or that you're excited about or thinking about?
Yeah, so this year we launched the Business of Doing Business, which is
congratulations. Y'all go ahead and give that a listen.
Thank you. Yes, the Business of Doing Business on YouTube and on all podcast players. So if you like to listen to audio, we got you there. And then if you're a YouTube person, which I was never really a YouTube person, but YouTube is awesome.
Listen, yes,
oh my
YouTube
God.
University too.
Yes, and oh, trust me, I've always been a student of that. But you know, I've never been the kind of person that had you know, channels I subscribe to and keep up with, but I love YouTube. I think it's great. I know I'm late to the game. My sister's like, my younger sister's like, I've been about YouTube. She's got YouTube Premium, and I'm like, I don't.
You're like, no, wait.
We'll see about that. But so the Business of Doing Business has been really fun. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've wanted to launch a YouTube channel for a while and launch a podcast. So decided to sort of mesh the two together. and create that content for YouTube. And that way it's, in a searchable platform.
Yes.
We're answering a lot of frequently asked questions. So it's been really fun to create this like database of knowledge and
Yes.
questions that people really have.
Yes.
And they're looking for that information again, so that they can make decisions in their business confidently from an educated place. And so that's been really cool. And we were chatting a little bit before that I'm working on my first book, which I'm really excited for. Yes, I am too. It's going to be really good. Yeah. So it's going to be a legal focused book for entrepreneurs. But we're going to make it fun. We're going to make it interesting, easy to read, easy to understand. I find that there are just so many legal business lessons that people are learning the hard way. And I'm like, you shouldn't have to learn this the hard way.
Yeah.
There are ways that you can be proactive instead of waiting to be reactive. Because what I found with hundreds of clients at this point in my career is that waiting to be reactive, it's always more expensive. It's always more time consuming. It's always more stressful. So it's like, how can we avoid those situations? It's all about being proactive, doing your due diligence, learning from the mistakes of others. And so in this book, I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone different stories of, how I've seen these situations play out, how you can avoid them, steps that you can take that don't require you to hire the big city law firm and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. The goal is actually that you don't have to spend a lot of money with lawyers. That's the goal. And I say that as an attorney. And I've had to hire attorneys in my time, and I'm like, I'm not trying to pay lawyers either. So I get it. It's never fun to pay somebody to clean up a mess.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah.
And I think it will be a much needed resource.
Yes.
That even if their content, I don't know all the content, so I'll say that now. I do not know all the content,
but
I do know Yasmine and how she presents content, and the fact that I know for sure it'll be digestible, it'll be something that is understandable, and something that hopefully they can take action on.
Yes.
It's just exciting.
I'm gonna send you a copy for sure.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Thank you.
What about? So one thing I like to ask all guests is their definition of success, and you can take that however you want. But what is your definition of success?
My definition of success sort of ties to what I mentioned as my biggest accomplishment. And it sounds a little cheesy, but it really is, the feeling of inner peace and experiencing peace of, okay, I am doing right by myself. I'm doing right by my family. I'm doing right by my children. I'm doing right by my clients and the community that I've built and that I'm supporting and that I'm showing up for. So when I feel that, and I feel that often, thankfully, and there are days that I don't feel that for sure. And those are days that I'm like, okay, something needs to be tweaked, something needs to change, or maybe this is just one of those weeks where things are a little bit imbalanced, but next week I can pour into the other areas of my life or pour into myself in a way. But yeah, that feeling is my idea of success. I know that I feel successful when I feel that, when I feel like I'm doing right by myself and by everybody that I've made, commitments to, and it's a good feeling.
No, I like that. It's interesting. We've been talking just in the other episodes and talking about, just grounding and mind, body, soul, and inner peace is what rung out the most. Even when you were talking about your biggest accomplishment, I could tell that was like, that is it. And you light up when you say it, and it's like, you're in your zone.
Yes. And it's a process.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's a process.
Absolutely.
And different seasons bring different challenges, and we're all living in the same world, and we recognize that, it's one of the guarantees of this life is change is guaranteed. Things are always going to change. You can wake up tomorrow and things are different. And so, it's giving yourself that grace and leaving room for flexibility to adapt to new circumstances. So that's a skill in and of itself that I think we're all working to develop over time.
Every day.
The sooner you accept it. I definitely know some folks that are very resistant to change. And it's a meltdown if something changes, and that's a really challenging way to live.
Agreed.
It's a painful
and it's
way
stressful.
to live. Yeah, it is.
I want all that
Instead
extra.
of embrace it, lean into it, recognize it as a constant of life, and do what you got to do.
Hopefully they will come around and see, that change, even in a micro movement, has to happen.
For sure.
No. Anything else you want to leave for parting words, Yasmine?
Oh my gosh, this has been so fun.
I know.
I want to interview you. I want to hear your answers. I want to hear more about what you got going on. We're gonna have to chat so much.
Yes. Oh, we totally will.
Yes.
We may have to do like a part 2.
We will.
We'll flip scripts.
We will. I love it. Thank you so much for having me, Claudia. This is so fun.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
So you all, if you are not not already subscribed here on YouTube, we drop episodes every Wednesday. Go ahead and hit the subscribe bell. I would love, love, love for you to go on over to coachesandcompany.com and check out the Doing Business podcast, the Business of Doing Business podcast. Nailed it.
Yes.
And then also on Fridays, we launch audio for those of you who like to listen on podcast platform of choice. As always, Bold Move Besties, make sure you take care of yourself. I'll catch you on the next episode. If you're done with the fluff and ready to execute on the how, then visit shebuiltsuccess.com for the tools you need. It's time to push go and dive into real strategies, genuine understanding, and concrete steps to create both more in business and life. Head on over to shebuiltsuccess.com for access to exclusive downloads, resources, and bonuses. Because moving boldly forward is not just a destination, it's a multi-layered journey. Let's grow and build your success together.